So, very impactful is the next thing we learn is that one night the Lord spoke to Paul in a vision. Do not be afraid, keep on speaking, do not be silent. For I am with you, and no one is going to attack and harm you, because I have many people in the city. And we also learned that Paul stayed in Corinth for a year and a half, teaching the word of God. And that's a long time for Paul to stay somewhere. So, one of the things that happened is the Jews brought Paul to trial in front of Gallio, the proconsul, and they charged him with persuading the people to worship God in ways contrary to the law. So, Paul was about to speak at his trial. Being a Roman citizen, he had a lot of privileges, but Gallio interrupted and didn't even need Paul to speak. He says, if you Jews were making a complaint about some misdemeanor or serious crime, it would be reasonable for me to listen to you. But since it involves questions about words and names in your own law, settle the matter yourselves. I will not be a judge of such things. So Paul was let go without a potential beating or imprisonment, which goes back to what the Lord said to Paul in a vision, where no one is going to attack and harm you because I have many people in this city. So eventually he left Corinth with Priscilla and Aquila. Just a side note here, he had a lot of affection for Priscilla. He would call her Prisca, which is a nickname, and had a very high opinion of her. So, just to give you a little bit more context, Paul goes 65 miles from Athens to Corinth. It's not known how, walking, ship, combination. It's in south central Greece, two ports under Roman rule, very cosmopolitan, very multicultural with Jews, Greeks, and Romans, and religions coexisting. So here's an example of the impressive architecture, and we can imagine these fully developed and how Paul would react to these monuments to the Roman religion. On the left is the temple to Poseidon, the god of the sea, which makes sense for a port city. It had 34 columns that were 20 feet high. The picture on the right is the temple of Apollo, 42 columns, 23 feet high. And the picture in the middle is another view of the temple to Apollo and the Acrocorinthus, which is a large outcrop that the military would use to keep watch. So, another major part of the city of Corinth was the agora or the marketplace. So, it had lots of shops, more temples, would be very bustling, very busy, imagine very loud, lots of people walking through and talking and laughing. And that's where Paul, Priscilla, and Aquila most probably made and sold their tents because it was the commercial heart of the city. And you can see in the pictures that it was decorated with monumental arch, and on the right are lots of shops. In the middle is a reconstruction of part of the city, and so you can see the enormity and the sophistication of the buildings and how Paul would have lots of people to talk to, particularly sitting, creating, mending, and selling their tents with lots of people coming through. Amazingly, we still have, so many thousands of years later, the place where Paul was tried, called the Bema. And if you can imagine a large platform where the proconsul would be, looking down on the accused and also the crowds. And the crowds, of course, being raucous